So, one phone is real, one phone is fake. Can you tell the difference? Hey guys, I hope you're all well and safe. It is Jack from TechFusions here, and today in this video we are going to do a direct comparison between the real and the fake iPhone 12 Pro Max. So, with that said, let's jump straight into it. So one of the first things that you may actually notice is that the fake iPhones are actually really starting to improve the design quite a lot. So I actually had the replica iPhone before I had the real iPhone, and to be honest, when I first saw the replica iPhone, I found it quite hard to tell the difference just by looking at it. And it was only when I actually saw the real iPhone when for me then it became pretty clear which one was real and which one was fake. So when you see them side by side, it becomes very obvious. One of the clear indicators which one is real and which one is fake here is that the real iPhone actually is a lot of a lighter colour compared to the replica iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is actually a slightly darker colour, which is kind of interesting because if you look at the last one we reviewed, the colour was pretty much the same. One thing that you can also see when you look at the back is the Apple logo, and in previous editions it's been quite hard to see it, or it hasn't been very clear, so that's something they've clearly improved on, which in a way makes it even harder to tell the difference between which one is real and fake. Taking a look at the side of the iPhones again, it is clear they look pretty similar. When looking at the lightning cable and the speakers, it is quite hard to tell the difference just by giving a first glance at them. Again, it'd be interesting when you test them and there is a clear difference there, but from a design point, you probably wouldn't notice the difference unless you had an iPhone next to you. When you turn to the back of the phone and look at the cameras, you can actually tell they do look slightly different. The camera on the real iPhone has a slightly darker lens, and to me it just feels like a premium phone, whereas when I look at the replica one, to be honest, the camera looks quite cheap. Again, at this point, this is before you've done the camera test, but at a first glance for me that is quite a clear giveaway between which one is real and fake. The fake iPhone just kind of looked like a cheap and bit of a knockoff really in terms of the camera, and for such a premium device it's something you wouldn't expect, which is a clear indicator right there. With that said, unless this is something you are looking out for, you probably wouldn't know unless you've seen the real iPhone already, which again makes it a little bit tough from the exterior to tell which one is real and fake. Okay, turning on the other side of the iPhone, you have of course got the volume buttons and the button which has it from silent to not silent. Now when you look at them and you feel them, there is quite a clear difference if you feel them. The replica ones just don't feel that nice, whereas for the real iPhone they actually feel much stronger, so a bit of an indicator there, but just by looking again you probably couldn't tell. So now we've managed to have a look at the actual design, I think it's now time to go in, turn the iPhone on and see what the software is like. So let's go. So a bit like previous replica iPhones, it is using some kind of Android software which actually then mimics the iOS system. To be honest, the first thing you need to do is just look at the screen, and for me I could probably tell straight away that it's a fake. The text doesn't look that great, the screen isn't too great, so I think just by looking at it, it's probably a clear giveaway, or you'll notice quite quickly when you think about how premium Apple products are. So for me, one of the most obvious giveaways when you first look at the iPhone in terms of software is the lack of the raise to wake feature. This is when you can just lift up the iPhone and the screen will turn on automatically. Now this is something for me I actually found a little bit frustrating when I was using the replica iPhone, and this was because of course I'm so used to that using the real iPhone, and then of course you have to press the button, which for me just a little bit annoying, but if that's a feature that you use already, for me it becomes very clear that it is a replica phone. I guess when you do look at it though, what do you expect really from a fake phone? So when you go into the settings, you can see that it is quite similar. If you look a bit more closely, you can see some of the icons and things are in a slightly different order, which would give it away, but then to be honest, if you didn't know what you were looking for, it would be quite hard to actually tell the difference. The screen quality does not actually look that great, and I think just by looking at it you can tell there is a lack of Retina display on the replica iPhone. Again, something that you would probably expect, but for me that is just something that would make it very clear which one is real and not real. I also find it quite funny how the replica iPhones mimics all the settings and things like that, because to me I found that you couldn't actually do that much on it, but it was interesting how you kind of go on it and it's almost as if it is the real deal, but it's not. Take the App Store for example. You can go onto the App Store and at a first glance it does look pretty similar, but then you realise that you can't actually download any apps on there, or at least I couldn't anyway. If you could and you have a replica iPhone, let us know in the comments down below. This is something I've found on lots of replica iPhones that we have looked at in the past, but there is a saviour. That is because you can actually access Google Play on the fake iPhone, which in a way is kind of good because it means at least you can still download some apps to the phone, things like Facebook, TikTok or WhatsApp, or pretty much anything from the Google Play Store you can download. Even Apple Music, which if you're trying to fool someone that you've got a real iPhone, at least having Apple Music is kind of a way to do it. With that said, although you can download apps, there are of course some pre-installed apps on the fake iPhone, and this is something which for me I always find quite interesting to look at and see how they work. Normally what I find quite often is that when you go onto the app, they actually go into something a little bit different with what is expected. So one example of this is you go into the weather app, it actually goes to Yahoo Weather. The Maps app actually takes you to Google, which, let's face it, is probably better than the actual Apple Maps app. Some things are a little bit more similar, such as the clock app. However, at least in my experience, it was quite glitchy and didn't work properly. And to be honest, would I want to use something that's glitchy and doesn't work? Probably not. But at least they tried, hey? One of the other clear differences to see which phone is real and fake is just by taking a look at the keyboard. As you can see on the screen now, the keyboards look very different, and to me it will be pretty clear quite quickly which phone is real and which one is fake, especially if you have used the iPhone previously. And of course, actually using the keyboard isn't a great experience, or at least in my opinion, and I think the Apple keyboard works so well that when you go onto a replica thing, you notice it pretty quickly. So what about this amazing new camera that they are always talking about on the new iPhone 12 Pro Max? How does the fake one stack up? Is it like the real deal? Well, no. And to be honest, this is something that I always expect whenever I look at a fake iPhone. The camera is terrible. And when I say terrible, I really do mean it is terrible. These are some of the worst cameras I've ever seen on a phone, and it's something I constantly see on replica iPhones. Just take a look at the screen now at some example of some pictures that we took using the iPhone. Can you tell which one is real and which one is fake? Let us know in the comments down below. The same also goes for video, and as you can see, the video quality is just not good whatsoever. Honestly, when you go onto the video mode, it reminds me of phones which you had about 10 years ago in terms of the camera quality. It is just that bad, and to be honest, it's something I would never expect, even on a really budget low phone. Another thing which is worth mentioning is that whenever you actually go onto the fake iPhone and try and use the camera app, it crashes and it glitches, and again, this for me makes it not even worth it. Why would you use something which just crashes, it glitches, it's slow, and to be honest, it doesn't work properly? But again, what do you expect? So one of the questions that you may be asking is, should I buy this phone? And I will say what anybody says whenever they ask me this: no, no, no. And honestly, I think you should spend your money elsewhere and not waste your money on this garbage of a phone. Whenever we do review fake iPhones, we of course never recommend that you actually buy one. We just love to see what they are like because it is amazing how much better they're getting. But again, I would never say buy a fake iPhone. The software is glitchy, the camera isn't good, and to be honest, you are better off buying a really cheap Android phone than what you are buying this. Even if it looks the real deal, it's not. And I think for any replica product, that's always reflected whenever you use it. What is quite impressive though is how much better the design is getting over and over again, and it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference just by looking at the actual phone itself. Of course, as soon as you go onto the phone, I think it becomes obvious very quickly, and that's something you should expect as well. But I guess you kind of ask the question that why do they continue to make replica phones in the first place? And one question I always ask is, why would anyone want to buy a phone like this? Because it just doesn't work very well whatsoever. With that said, if you went to buy an iPhone from a shop and they showed me this, I could probably be fooled until I actually went onto the phone itself, which really does highlight how much better the design is getting, which in a way is quite scary. So if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you can give the video a thumbs up. It really is appreciated, and comment down below on what you think. We would love to make another video on replica iPhones, so we really do want to know what you think. If you are new to our channel, it would be great if you can give us a subscribe. Again, that would be really appreciated. We make videos on replica iPhones, on electric scooters, and we've got a new video on the Xeon Gimbal 2S, which is coming out pretty soon. So my name is Jack from TechFusions. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.